I'm in front of the disposal facility.
Excellent, Snake. Age hasn't slowed you down one bit.
I love the mini consoles. I'm not sure there's a more affordable way to get a bunch of retro games on a system that feels like the originals. In my collection, I had the C64 Mini, the NES Classic, the Super Nintendo Classic, the Genesis Mini, and the PlayStation Mini. I wish I had the TurboGrafx 16, but for some reason it was not released in Canada. With all these, I was generally happy with the games each came with one glaring exception. The PlayStation Mini came loaded with a bunch of games that had no right to be considered as the best 20 games of that system. In fact, it was so bad that as a Sony fanboy, I felt embarrassed by the console. Were they drunk when they put this list together? Did somebody hit their head at Sony? I didn't buy it when it came out, but I did pick up one recently because it was $50 still sealed. But when I did buy it, I knew I would need to add the games to it that the morons at Sony left out. So, today I am sharing with you the games I added to my PlayStation Classic to make it the console it should have been from conception. Just before we get into the actual list, I divided it into two sections. The first section is the list of all the games that absolutely should have been on there with no exceptions. They're no-brainers. Games that were iconic on the PS1 that I cannot believe were excluded. The second section are games that would have been added that I enjoy, and they're kind of hidden gems, kind of off the beaten track games that I think add variety to this mini system. So I chose them knowing that not everybody's going to like them, not everybody's going to feel that they're the top 20, but they have some variety of gameplay. They add something to the mini classic. So now let's get to that list. First up is Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Now I know what you're thinking. This game is overhyped and I talk about it way too much. And I do own it physically and digitally across several consoles. But let's face it, this game deserves to be on the PlayStation Classic. It is by far one of the best games for the PlayStation 1. It came out kind of in the middle or mid to late life cycle of the PlayStation, and it was a greatest hits despite the lack of any marketing plan around it or anything else. People still play it today. It holds up well today. There's no argument that I can make to leave this game off the PS1 Classic. Even if you feel that this is overhyped, there's no reason to leave it out, and I put it on to make my PlayStation Classic much better. Early in the life cycle, Crash Bandicoot looked like it was going to be the system's mascot, similar to Mario or Sonic. Although this wasn't the case at the end, leaving out Crash Bandicoot and Crash Bandicoot 2 was a really stupid decision. Both are great platformers, they both have good graphics that hold up today, and I added both to my PlayStation Mini, and I'm glad I did. They have a variety of gameplay, and especially the second one gets into new environments, new gameplay. Even from the first, you can see the growth in that franchise between the first one and the second one. They're both fun to play. The challenge level does pace well, so the further you get in the game, the harder it gets, but the better you get at the game. Both deserve to be on the system. Both I added to my PlayStation Classic. When you think of racing games on the PlayStation, you naturally think of Ridge Racer, right? Now don't get me wrong, I enjoy Ridge Racer games, but it is Gran Turismo that has been the racing franchise most closely aligned to PlayStation. Most of the consoles have two titles from this franchise. When Gran Turismo came out, I was blown away by the graphics, the gameplay, customization, and soundtrack. It really raised the bar for all future racing games, and Gran Turismo absolutely deserves a place on the PlayStation Classic. On the subject of raising the bar, your PlayStation gaming experience just wouldn't be the same without a trip to the town of Silent Hill. Although the horror genre would hit its peak in the next generation of consoles, Silent Hill gives us a glimpse of what we can expect. Taking control of Harry Mason, you search for your missing daughter in Silent Hill, a town filled with curses, creatures, and cultists. During your search, you piece together horrifying events that have left the town stuck between this world and the nightmarish landscape that is the other place. Silent Hill may not be everybody's cup of tea, but it still deserved a spot on the PlayStation Classic. And it is now on my PlayStation Classic. The final must-have game that I added to my PS Classic was Twisted Metal 2. The first one was included, but it is barely playable on new TVs. The graphics are busy and blend into each other, so much so that it's actually difficult to keep track of what is happening. This is less of a problem for Twisted Metal 2, and the sequel also has that couch co-op tournament that is missing from the original. So that is my list of games that should have definitely been included on the PS Classic. The next bunch are hidden gems that I added to give some more variety to the games offered. At the end of this section, there's a game that I had never played before. I added this to give me something completely different. The first of my hidden gems is Dino Crisis. This game plays like Resident Evil, but with dinosaurs. It has the tank controls and mobility of a Resident Evil title. You also need to keep track of your items, as all the storage boxes are not linked. Next up is Psychic Force. This is a fighting game with a twist. Each character has some kind of psychic combat ability, and you fight while floating in the air. There are boundaries on all sides, left, right, up, and down, but no ring outs. It is a unique fighting game that I enjoyed back in the day. Another racing game was my third pick for hidden gems. Your vehicle is an anti-gravity racer, complete with weapon pickups. You can use the weapons to slow down your opponents, cause them enough damage, and you can eliminate them from the race entirely. Of course, they can also remove you from the race in the same fashion. Wipeout XL is a game that is a cross between F-Zero and Mario Kart, except with a more mature feel to it. The fourth game I added as a hidden gem is Pandemonium. This is a platformer game, and it is unique in that it's very colorful, with a strange world where you bounce on things like watermelons floating in the air to get to your next objective. It has a strange 3D quality to it. You're always on a 2D track, but it wraps around. This game is very colorful, it's very janky in its controls, but I played it back in the day, and it was a lot of fun, so I added it to this system because I thought it would add something to the system. Finally, the game I had never played before. I added Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare. I played it a little bit just to capture some footage for this video. It has the tank controls like a Resident Evil game, but that is really all I know about it at this point. Hopefully, it'll keep things interesting. When you look at this list of games that I've added, it makes you think that I hated the PlayStation Classic. I didn't hate it. There are games on the PlayStation Classic that I do like. Some of those games are Rayman, Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy VII, Wild Arms, Resident Evil, and Tekken 3. They're all worth playing. They're all good games, and they all deserve to be on the system. But they don't really make the system worth buying on its own. Really, when I bought this, I had to add games to it. So there's the list of games that I added to it. So what do you think of my list? What games would you have added that I forgot? I'm very interested to know what games I may have missed, so let me know in the comments. To close off, I basically want to say thank you to all our subscribers. You are all very appreciated. If you ever have suggestions for videos, game reviews, what makes this game great, please let me know in the comments. It's really important to me that you folks have a say in where this channel goes. Because quite frankly, a channel without an audience is not a channel at all. It's just me talking to myself. So hey, let me know what you'd like to see in the future, and I'll see if I can make it happen. I don't have access to every game in the past, but I'll see what I can do, even if I have to go out and find them and buy them. I want you to have a great day. I want to thank you again for watching, and I want to thank all my subscribers again and say you are appreciated